And time for another coffee with Kilroy, or what I like to call, sometimes, beverage in a book. My beverage, coffee. And today is December 5th. And so my book is going to be a reading from Tales of War. Now, I've done some other readings from this book. This is basically a calendar type book. Every day of the year has an entry dealing with military history. And today is December 5th. So we will turn to that and take a look at what happened on December 5th, which, spoiler alert, you're seeing Prussia's glory here, and the Battle of Leuthen right up there from Victory Point Games, and I might have some other stuff to talk about from that deals with the Battle of Leuthen. But let's get to the reading today and see what we have in store. Go in a little bit closer here so you can read along if you so choose. 5th December, Frederick the Great's greatest victory. 1757, during the 7 Years' War, Prussia's population totaled only 4.5 million, while the opposing alliance of Austria, France, and Russia could draw their armies from over 100 million inhabitants. But Prussia had Frederick the Great. Frederick was the greatest general of the 18th century, one of the greatest of any century. On this day, he proved it and saved his nation from extinction. The town of Leuthen lies just west of the Oder, in the land that Frederick had seized from Austria only a few years before. Here, his force of just 36,000 men would face an Austrian army of 60 to 80,000. Aware of the enormous odds against his success, Frederick offered his officers the chance to leave before the battle, but none defected. The evening before the battle, he laconically remarked, "Shortly we shall either have beaten the enemy or we shall never see one another again." The next day, through a brilliant flanking maneuver, Frederick utterly routed the Austrians in a 3-hour battle. Although Prussia lost some 6,000 killed and wounded, the enemy lost 10,000 killed plus 21,000 captured. And within 2 weeks, another 17,000 dispirited Austrian soldiers surrendered almost without a fight at Breslau. The war dragged on until 1763, sometimes favoring Frederick's enemies, but the greatest general always managed to extricate himself from disaster with a timely victory. As Napoleon remarked in the following century, "It is not the Prussian army for which 7 years defended Prussia against the 3 most powerful nations in Europe, but Frederick the Great." In the years ahead, pull up a little bit there. In the years ahead, the Battle of Leuthen became a Ptolemaic victory for the German people, a symbol of German superiority that would play its role in the eventual unification of the country, reverberating through the centuries to the First World War and culminating in the materialism of the Third Reich. As Frederick's contemporary, the Comte de Mitterrand, commented, and that's French, I'll just read the English. "War is the national industry of Prussia." So there you have it, 5th of December from Tales of War, Battle of Leuthen, and I've got, or have, at least 3 games on the Battle of Leuthen. And I'll start with the most complex and go down to the least complex. And let's go out a little bit here so you can see what I am talking about. There's my coffee. Enjoy a sip while you can. The most complex is this Prussia's glory, the battles of Frederick the Great. This one had 4 battles in it: Rossbach, Leuthen, Zondorf, and Torgau. And this is again the most complex of the games that I have that cover the Battle of Leuthen, and published by GMT Games. And Robert Kalinowski is the designer, and it's a solid game. There's quite a bit of chrome in this game. You can see an example of the counters and the maps and the like. Complexity has set at medium, and solitaire is high. I might, complexity is at 4 and solitaire is at 8. I might switch those. To me, the complexity was a little bit higher than 4, for me at least, with all the different aspects that were going on in this era. And then the solitaire is, there's no hidden information, but there's still, you're basically playing it two-handed. There's not a solo variant in here, so I would not put the solitaire as high for that. But anyway, but that's the most complex, Prussia's Glory. Next up is Leuthen, and this is a Frank Chadwick design. This is was published for Victory Point Games, and they come in these. This is the sleeve for it, and they come in one of these boxes here, and you have this little sleeve over it. But this is a fine game as well. I put this as I didn't. They actually have the complexity, I think, higher on this. Actually, they have a complexity of 3, so they have it less than Prussia's Glory. And I would put this as less than Prussia's Glory as well. This it has cards that kind of help drive the action, more like card assisted. The counters are really kind of nice. It's the kind of laser cut, wood. You actually need to have a napkin, which I still think I have my napkin in here. Yes, they give you a napkin that you can wipe off the soot that comes with the that potentially comes with punching out the counters. But these counters are that's a dummy counter. Let's look at some of the counters here. You have a nice long counter there, which are kind of cool, very thick counters that go on the map board. This was the player aid that came with it, and you can see what you need to do for combat differential and die rolls and modifiers and your terrain type and all the. Here's basically the order or the sequence of play. Yeah, it says right there on the side there. Your movement, discovery, combat, administrative phase, and then you rinse and repeat with the second player there and the like, and that's one-sided. But here's the map, and the interesting thing about the map is, you can see some more of the counters there. But the interesting thing about the map is it came in 2 flavors. You had the paper map, which is fine, a little bit thicker paper and a fine map. But Victory Point Games started doing this puzzle maps, which were kind of interesting. That you had this little centerpiece here, and you'd have put it together kind of like a puzzle. And so this was a little bit thicker. This, for some reason, this puzzle piece is kind of warped or something. It's not necessarily fitting down as much as the others, but there you have it. So you can choose which map you wanted to play on there, but either are very serviceable and very nice. This one had kind of a dark, it had this gray background on everything, but these kind of bold, red roof towns on here, which I found interesting as well. So this is the I would say medium complexity, not that complex. And I've played this. I haven't played this recently, but I played this a long time ago, and it played relatively well. I mean, it was an interesting game. I like the card assists that give a little bit of historic flavor to the game, but definitely a fine game in its own right, and a Frank Chadwick design to boot. Next up I have is the Battle of Leuthen game. Don't want to spill my coffee there. Boom, boom, boom. Let's bring this down here. And this is from the Historical Game Company. And I would put this at the lowest level of complexity because, and not that it's simple, but it's just a lower level of complexity. The way these, and this is a finish up of a game I did for this video for December 5th. So there'll be I'll put a link to that as well in this video. Well, I'll put a link to it, but it won't be available till this hits, and this will hit later today on December 5th. Yeah, I gotta get my coffee to get my stuff straight, right? And so the way that the Historical Game Company games work, and they're all designed by Steve Kling, which was kind enough to send me this one, so I want to say thank you to him on that. And I'll put a link to also my unboxing of this game as well, because it talks about the components. These are sourced by Blue Panther Games, and they have some of that same, they're kind of reminiscent of that thickness of counters that you saw from victory point games. So very nice, thick counters. This game is all controlled. This is card driven in that you have you'll draw a card on your turn, and it'll tell you how many units you can move, how many units can attack, and then it might have a special ability that might give modifiers. It might have to move units. It might be returning units. The special abilities vary. And sometimes there's a few cards that don't have any special abilities. But this basically is going to tell you how you move, or how many units you can move, how many units can attack. But you're going to be maneuvering on this board, which is kind of a canvas map, which is very nice. And so you still make the decisions. You're making all the decisions on what units move, what units attack. There's also counter fire or defensive fire phase to go against approaching units. And as you can see here, this map looks a little bit similar. It's kind of it's turned on its side, but this is very similar to the map we saw under Leuthen, Frederick's Greatest Victory, which this was a drums and musket #1. I don't know if they came out with any more. I think this might have been the only one from drums and musket. I think this was going to be a Frank Chadwick series of games, 4 victory point games. But correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I don't know if they came out with any more of the drums and muskets. But they have come out with several of this style game. Steve Kling has come out with several of this format game that uses cards to kind of drive the action forward, but you're making all the tactical decisions. And in this case, much like the history, Frederick made a flanking maneuver with his cavalry. His cavalry set up here, did a flanking maneuver to the Austrians' left, and then also had artillery kind of come up this route, and then the line troops were over here, and then filled in as there was successes from the cavalry from the flanking maneuver or the mounted. Everybody comments how my Midwest / Southern draw might pronounce cavalry. Anyway. It's a hill, not a horse. Anyway, so this is how it played out, and basically in the order to win this game, there are some objective points that you have to occupy, and they're worth 1 each, except for Leuthen itself, which is 2, and if you occupy 4 or more at the end of the game, you win the game, and you can end the game early, which was what happened here. It normally it can go up to 24 turns. This one went up to 15, and it ended early if you occupy Leuthen and also, what is that, Frebowitz. So probably mispronounced that. Can't see too good with my eyes these days. I need a new peeps. I'm going to have some coffee too. As you can see here, there was a lot of casualties. The Austrians start off with more forces. In this battle, much kind of like the battle of the actual Battle of Leuthen, the Prussians did not. They started off not having hardly any casualties for like the first 8 to 9 rounds. Then they started getting some casualties, but it wasn't nearly the same amount that the Austrians suffered, which kind of knocked them completely off the board in a complete victory. So anyway, there you have it. Those are my games from that cover the Battle of Leuthen on this December 5th, talking about put that out there, talking about the Battle of Leuthen and how it's covered. Here's some of the cards from the Frederick's Greatest Victory, the Victory Point Games game. I didn't tell you that. That's good, thick cards. This is very Victory Point Games type quality here. The cards weren't always this way. When I first started getting Victory Point games, they were a little bit cheaper and just maybe above do-it-yourself type stuff. But these were they started getting very nice kind of quality stuff as they went along. Kind of talked about them in the past, but I really don't know what the current status of Victory Point games as far as what their who's producing their games. I don't think they're necessarily an independent game company anymore. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. And then, of course, Prussia's Glory, if you want the full treatment. This is a fine system, a fine game. When I'm saying complex, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that I do believe there's a lot more complexity here then, of course, Leuthen or Battle of Leuthen from there. So there you have it. That is what I have for you today on Coffee with Kilroy, Tales of War, and thank you for stopping by. If you've got a game that covers the Battle of Leuthen that you want to talk about, please jump in. As I sip my coffee, please put it in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about any of these three as well. And there you have it. I hope you're having a good one whenever you're watching this, whether it's morning, noon, or night. Take care. Thanks for watching.